I didn't ignore my eyes out of carelessness. I ignored them because nothing seemed wrong. Vision fades quietly, without urgency, until one day you realize what you can no longer see clearly, and how much that clarity once protected your independence and peace. I used to believe that if something was wrong with my eyes, I would know. Pain, blurriness, discomfort. Surely the body would speak clearly. For most of my life that was true. Vision felt dependable. If something was off, it announced itself. But later years changed that assumption quietly. The first changes did not feel like loss. They felt like inconvenience. Reading required a little more light. Street signs needed an extra second. Faces across a room felt slightly less defined, though still familiar. None of it seemed urgent. None of it interfered enough to demand attention. Life continued smoothly, and that smoothness became reassurance. What I did not understand then was how slowly vision can change without raising alarm. The eyes adapt. The brain compensates. We adjust positions, lighting, distance, and pace without realizing how much work is happening behind the scenes. The world still looks fine, even as clarity thins. This quiet adaptation is both a gift and a risk. It allows independence to continue without disruption, but it also hides early signals that matter. When eyesight shifts gradually, it blends into routine. The difference between yesterday and today feels negligible, even though the difference between now and 10 years ago is substantial. Many seniors live comfortably inside this adjustment. They know their eyesight is not what it once was, but they accept it as normal aging rather than a change worth examining. There is no panic in this acceptance. It feels practical, sensible. After all, nothing feels wrong. But vision is not just about seeing sharply. It guides balance, movement, recognition, and confidence. When it changes, those systems quietly work harder. The body compensates without complaint, until one day the effort becomes noticeable. Looking back, I realize how long I relied on good enough. I mistook familiarity for stability. I believed that because I could manage, there was nothing to manage. Vision loss did not arrive dramatically. It softened the edges of daily life so gradually that I barely noticed what was slipping away. This is how eyesight changes often begin, not with warning, but with quiet negotiation. And because nothing feels broken, awareness is delayed. By the time concern appears, the change has already shaped habits, confidence, and choices. That realization came later for me. At the time, I felt fine, and that feeling delayed everything that followed. Skipping eye exams was never a decision I made deliberately. It happened through reasoning that felt responsible, logical, almost protective. There was always a reason to wait, and each reason made sense on its own. The most common thought was simple: nothing feels wrong. Without pain or disruption, scheduling an exam felt unnecessary. Appointments take time. They interrupt routine. They require energy. When life already feels full, anything optional is easy to postpone. There was also the quiet fear of knowing. Eye exams carry a particular weight. Vision feels deeply tied to independence. The idea that something might be found, even something manageable, can feel unsettling. Avoiding the appointment preserves peace, at least temporarily. Fatigue plays a role too. By the time we reach our later years, many of us have spent decades attending appointments, tests, and follow-ups. Medical settings can feel draining. Even routine checkups carry emotional weight. Skipping one feels like reclaiming control. And then there is habit. If eye exams were not part of a long-standing routine, they are easy to forget. Years pass quickly. One missed appointment becomes several. Time fills the gap without consequence, until it doesn't. I told myself I would go next year. That phrase became comfortable. Next year feels responsible without requiring action. Meanwhile, the absence of immediate problems reinforced the delay. Nothing bad happened. Life continued. There is also dignity in not wanting to feel managed. Being reminded to get an eye exam can feel like advice meant for someone else. Ignoring it can feel like preserving autonomy. Independence matters deeply, especially later in life. All of these reasons combined quietly. None of them came from neglect. They came from adaptation, from wanting life to remain simple and undisturbed. What I did not realize was that postponement was not neutral. It shaped how I related to uncertainty. Without awareness, small changes accumulated without context. The unknown grew silently. By the time I finally scheduled an exam, it wasn't urgency that pushed me. It was curiosity mixed with a quiet unease. Something had shifted. Not dramatically, but enough to notice. That delay taught me something important. Avoidance rarely comes from carelessness. It comes from understandable choices that feel kind in the moment, even when they quietly shape the future. I once thought eyesight was mostly about reading and driving. That belief changed slowly, through experience rather than explanation. Vision, I learned, touches nearly every movement we make. Balance relies on visual cues. Depth perception guides how we step, turn, and reach. Peripheral vision alerts us to changes in our environment. When these functions soften, the body compensates, but with effort. I noticed it first in subtle ways. Navigating uneven ground required more attention. Dim lighting felt less forgiving. Crowded spaces felt slightly disorienting. None of these experiences felt dramatic, but they required awareness I had not needed before. Vision also anchors memory and recognition. Familiar places feel secure because we recognize patterns. When clarity shifts, the mind works harder to confirm what the eyes provide. That effort can feel like fatigue, even when nothing obvious is wrong. Emotionally, vision influences confidence. When the world feels clear, movement feels assured. When clarity wavers, hesitation grows. That hesitation can shape behavior, walking more slowly, avoiding unfamiliar spaces, choosing predictability over exploration. What surprised me most was how interconnected vision is with independence. Small visual changes quietly influence decisions: when to go out, how long to stay, where to sit, what to avoid. These choices feel personal, but they are often guided by subtle visual comfort. Eye exams reveal this connection gently. They provide context. They explain why certain things feel harder than they used to. Awareness replaces self-blame with understanding. Without that awareness, it is easy to attribute changes to aging in general. With it, specific adjustments become possible. Not dramatic changes, just informed ones. This understanding brought relief. Not because everything was perfect, but because uncertainty softened. Knowing where my vision stood allowed me to relate to my body with more patience. Vision does not fail all at once. It negotiates, and understanding that negotiation changes how we move through the world. The greatest change that came from regular eye exams was not physical, it was emotional. Knowing where I stood replaced quiet worry with steadiness. Before awareness, there was always a background question. Is this normal? Is this just age? That uncertainty lingered without words. After awareness, that question faded. Even routine results carry reassurance. They confirm stability. They establish a baseline. They allow change to be measured rather than imagined. That knowledge reduces mental strain. There is calm in clarity. Not the calm of certainty, but the calm of understanding. It removes the need to guess. It replaces vague concern with grounded awareness. Eye exams did not make me fearless. They made me informed. That difference matters. Fear thrives in uncertainty. Confidence grows in context. Emotionally, this awareness restored trust in my body. Changes no longer felt mysterious. They felt explainable. That explanation reduced self-criticism and frustration. I no longer blamed myself for needing more light or moving more carefully. I understood why. And understanding brings compassion. This emotional shift influenced how I approached other aspects of aging. Awareness became a form of self-respect rather than something to avoid. Independence is not lost in one moment. It narrows quietly through small compromises. Eye care interrupts that narrowing. When vision is supported, choices remain open. Movement feels safer. Confidence feels earned. Daily routines remain flexible rather than restricted. Eye exams do not impose change. They prevent sudden change. They allow adjustments to be made gradually, on one's own terms. This preservation of choice is deeply tied to dignity. When changes are anticipated, they are integrated rather than forced. Life adapts smoothly. For me, this meant maintaining control over how I lived, not reacting after something went wrong. That distinction mattered more than I expected. Eye exams became part of my life not through urgency, but through acceptance. They stopped feeling like warnings and started feeling like support. Consistency does not require anxiety. It requires respect for time, for body, for peace of mind. Eye care fits best when it is periodic, calm, and self-directed. I no longer wait for symptoms. I honor awareness, not out of fear, but out of care. Vision supports how we move through the world. Protecting it quietly protects everything connected to it. That is what I learned later than I wish, but in time to share. And if this story spares someone else the same delay, then it has done its work.